In the ancient ocean kingdom of Phallus, hidden in the farthest corners of the sea, beyond the reach of sailors and the greed of kings, lived a people of mystery. The female merfolk, the mermaids. Beneath the shimmering waves, they thrived in coral palaces, glowing gardens, and among schools of silver fish that danced like living stars. Among them was one whose beauty surpassed all others. Princess Nerisse, that was her name. Her hair flowed like liquid silver, her eyes glowed with the light of the moon, and her voice was said to calm storms and tame the wildest waves. She was the eldest of 3 princesses, daughters of Queen Mabel, the great ruler of the seas. Nerisse was the most curious, the most daring of them all. Though she loved the ocean with every beat of her heart, her gaze often wandered upward to the forbidden world above, the world of humans. But Queen Mabel's warnings echoed through her mind. The merfolk and humans share nothing in common. We do not intermingle. They covet only our sacred corals and the power they hold. That is why we dwell in the forbidden depths. Any human who dares to cross into our waters shall pay the ultimate price. They shall pay with their lives. Yet Princess Nerisse was restless. Often she swam to the surface, peering at the world above. There she saw fire crackle in golden lamps, heard the music of drums and flutes, and watched as humans danced beneath the stars. In the silence of the waves, she kept her secret, a longing for the world beyond the sea. One day, as storms raged and thunder shook the seas, Nerisse beheld a ship torn apart by the wrath of the waves. Apparently, it had sailed in the forbidden zone, and its occupants were destined to pay the ultimate price. Among the wreckage, a young man fought for breath, a prince. His name was Kale. Without hesitation, Nerisse swam boldly through the furious waters, her tail slicing the currents. She reached him just as the ocean threatened to claim his last breath. Wrapping her arms around him, she bore him away, not to the shore, but to her secret sanctuary hidden deep within the coral caverns. For days, Nerisse nursed Kale back to health. When he opened his eyes, he saw her, radiant. His lips trembled. "An angel or a dream," he whispered. Nerisse only smiled. And there, by the glow of pearl lanterns, began a secret bond between them. His name was Kale, a prince of the northern kingdom, strong, proud, but gentle in her presence. They spoke in halting words, teaching each other songs and secrets of their worlds. Beneath glowing waters of bioluminescent reefs, love bloomed. When Kale whispered that he must return, Nerisse's heart trembled with sorrow. Yet before he left, she placed a gift in his hand, so he would remember her. She gave him the Siren's Tear, a rare pearl said to bind 2 souls forever, but only if the love was true. She pressed her lips softly to his, sealing her trust in him. His words lingered in the water like a vow. On the 3rd day I will return. Listen for the sound of my ship and swim to the safe zone. But Nerisse did not know that on land, Prince Kale was already bound in marriage. His wife, Princess Feti, was cruel and vain, and on her birthday she demanded a gift unlike any other, the rare pearl, the Siren's Tear.
For my birthday, I desire the rare pearl hidden in the depths of the sea.
Ask me for anything else, Kale had pleaded, for sailing into the forbidden waters, where the glowing corals grew, is nothing short of suicide. Everyone knew it. To cross that boundary was to seal one's fate.
but Feti would not yield. "A king is known for keeping his word," she hissed. "You swore before all, 'Ask me of anything, and I would grant it.' You even swore in the name of your ancestors. A king is known for honor. Now honor your words, Prince Kale. Honor your words." And so on the fourth night, Kale set sail, not out of love, but ambition. For to deny her in front of the kingdom would mean shame, dishonor, an absence of nobility, and perhaps the loss of the throne to one of his brothers. And the throne was everything to him. He would claim it, or die trying. Worse still, Kale was heir to an empire that had hunted merfolk for centuries. To trust him was like a bird trusting the snare, or a rat trusting the cat. When Kale returned with the pearl, his counselors gathered in awe. They marveled at the treasure. They had only read about it in the books. They had only seen its images. They had only heard about it, but here it was before them live. A treasure that existed only in the Forbidden Zone, from which no one ever returned alive. They further marveled at his bravery, praised his daring nature, and bowed to his triumph. "Ah, true son of his father and his father's father," said one of the chiefs. "I remember your father. That one killed an elephant with just one finger." "And what of his grandfather?" another chief said. "Ha! That one wrestled a lion with both hands tied behind his back and still came out smiling. Ah, greatness truly runs in your blood, my son." But when he spoke of the sea princess who had saved him, their faces shifted. No gratitude, only hunger. They exchanged glances and silent communications. Their eyes flickered with unspoken schemes, their whispers sharper than blades. Greed seeped into their hearts like venom. "Bring her to us," they urged. "Capture the mermaid, and the crown will be sealed as yours." And so the trap was cast, the bait was set. And so it was on that faithful day. With joy in her heart, Nerisse swam to the surface, following the call until Kale's grand ship came into view. It floated in silence, its sails heavy in the still night air. The waves were too calm, the night far too quiet. A warning whispered in her veins, but love drowned it out. She swam closer, almost there, she thought, almost there, my love. But instead of Kale's embrace, darkness fell upon her. Nets dropped like shadows from above. Harpoons tore through the water, one injuring her, sending waves of pain through her body. Nerisse cried out, thrashing against the cords that tightened around her fins. They glowed faintly. Enchanted ropes, designed to trap her kind. Her voice echoed into the night. "Let me go! Please let me go!" A desperate scream swallowed by the sea. But no one came. She was at the safe zone, far away from her kingdom. And above, on the deck of the silent ship, unseen eyes watched her struggle. The crew cheered, their voices rising like thunder over the waves. Nerisse was dragged into a glowing crystal tank, her body pressed against its walls as ancient sorcery sealed away her voice. Her cries dissolved into silence, her tears lost in salt water. Days blurred into nights. Far beneath the waves, Queen Mabel paced, her heart heavy with worry. She had not seen Nerisse for days. She sought the Tide Mother, an ancient spirit charged with their security and rescue, pleading for her daughter. But the ancient spirit only rumbled. "Had Nerisse cried in true anguish, I would have risen. Every daughter of the sea knows to call me in pain. That child, she is drawn to the surface. She will return, as always, with tales of her reckless adventures." Yet unease lingered in the queen's heart. In Kale's palace, nobles gathered in awe, their jeweled masks reflecting the shimmer of the crystal prison. Children pressed their small faces to the glass, marveling at the mermaid princess like she was nothing more than a prize, or even a trapped pet. While inside, Nerisse's spirit withered. It was Kale's coronation day, and Nerisse's captivity was paraded as part of the spectacle, proof of his strength. a trophy to declare he had earned the crown. He had unarguably earned the crown, the rare pearl and now the captive mermaid. And then came Kale. But not as the man she once knew beneath the glow of pearl lanterns. He came robed in arrogance, laughter curdled on his lips, and he was not alone. By his side stood a woman, cloaked in gold, radiant with mortal beauty, his wife, Princess Feti. Nerisse's heart cracked like broken coral. Kale raised his hands, his voice thundering through the hall. "Behold, the jewel of the sea, a gift for our kingdom." His gaze locked on hers, but it was not love, only cruelty.
"I never loved you. My pursuit was only for the rare pearl."
"Did you truly believe I loved you?" He sneered, his smile sharp as a blade. "A prince does not marry fish. Your pearl, your beauty, your song, they are worth more than your life." Oh, how the ocean listened. In her despair, Nerisse prayed, not to Kale, not to the humans who mocked her, but to the depths themselves. Her heart cried out to the ancient one whispered of in ocean lore, the Tide Mother. A spirit older than mountains, vaster than the seas, a colossal force who slumbered in the abyss, answering only to cries born of true pain. And in the stillness of that cruel palace, with her tears dissolving into salt and silence, Nerisse's plea broke through the veil. The Tide Mother heard. As the Kingmaker raised the crown to place on Kale's head, the sea roared. The water in the crystal tank trembled. At first, the nobles laughed, thinking it a trick of light. But then the walls of the palace shook, and the ocean beyond roared like 1,000 drums. The lanterns flickered, goblets spilled, children screamed. From the depths, a shadow stirred. Vast, endless, older than time itself, the Tide Mother was rising. The seas outside the palace walls swelled higher and higher, waves lashing against stone towers. Windows shattered as streams of seawater poured inside, and a cold voice, neither human nor beast, whispered through every drop. "Who dares bind my daughter of the tide? Who dares? I am the Tide Mother herself." Kale stumbled back, his golden armor suddenly nothing but rust before the goddess of the ocean. Princess Feti held his hand, trembling. The nobles fell to their knees, some fainting in terror. The tank shattered. Nerisse was freed, though her wounds bled into the water. She looked up, her tears mingling with the Tide Mother's rage. The sea surged into the palace, floors split, columns collapsed, torches drowned. Kale's guards were struck and rendered motionless, like statues. Once fierce, able-bodied men, they now stood frozen in mid-action, their strength turned to stone, their will erased. With no protection again, Kale shouted, raising his sword, but the Tide Mother laughed, her voice a tidal wave. "What is a blade to the sea? What is a blade to the Tidal Mother?" With a single gesture, waves rose like mountains. Harpoons, banners, and jewels were swept away. Ships anchored at the shore snapped like twigs. The entire court screamed as water swallowed the throne room. Kale reached for Nerisse, trembling now. "Nerisse, forgive me. What of our love?" But she only gazed at him, her eyes colder than the abyss. "You could have ruled my heart," she whispered. "Instead, you drowned in your greed." Nerisse's voice had now returned, yet it was no longer the tender melody of love. What rose from her lips was the siren song of storms, a hymn of fury. Her cry split the air. The palace walls trembled and shattered. From the wreckage she emerged, radiant in vengeance, the pearl blazing in her palm. mystically reclaimed from Kyle and Feti. Kyle and his wife, Feti, were lost to the waves. When silence returned, the grand palace was gone. Where it once stood lay only ruins, sunken into the sea. Fishermen would later say the seabed glowed with ghostly lanterns. The drowned kingdom, forever cursed. Nerisse vanished into the deep, never seen again. Back in Talas, Nerisse swims free, the siren's tear glowing in her hand. She vows never to trust the surface again. But the ocean sings her name as the mermaid who conquered betrayal. Sailors tell her tale even now. They say when storms rise without warning and waves crash with fury, it is the mermaid princess who remembers, who sings not of love, but of betrayal. And so her story is whispered with awe and fear. The betrayal of Princess Nerisse,